allegiance, if everyone would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to give comments on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I will close public comments. Review and approval of the minutes from January 25th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion, changes, comments? I think there was just a typo, Diane, on page 228. Just
2, line 28.
yeah, to review said changes before they become final. So just delete that.
Before they
That was the
comes
only-
up.
Okay, I think that was it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Regular business. It's an application by Seacoast Pool Plastering LLC, Rob McAnnis. This is a continuation of a public hearing for an application for site plan and special use permit to permit the proposed construction of a 6,000 square foot building consisting of 1,000 square feet of office space, 5,000 square feet for an equipment construction storage warehouse. The lots in question are located at 446 and 451 Wally Falls Road, tax map R6, lots 50-7 and 50-8 in the B3 zone. And it's my understanding the applicant is going to give us a presentation on a proposed update or revision. Jeff, you're recusing yourself. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. John Lorden with Ty and Bond. So we were here about a month ago. We got comments back from Underwood Engineering. We addressed those, and then we had a technical review meeting. At the technical review meeting, there were some concerns about the site that we heard, and we wanted to try to simplify the site. We don't think there are any major changes. We think it's only a simplification. We think it's an improvement, and we do think we've addressed some of the concerns. Some of the concerns that we did hear was that there's a septic system near the aquifer protection zone. There is no required buffer, but there was discussion and concern about it being in the vicinity of it, so that has been removed. There wasn't a concern over the building size, but as a summary, the building was reduced from 6,000 square feet down to 2,000 square feet, which allowed us to slide it over and move it. There was concern about concentrated stormwater flow towards the building, even though we were just trying to direct that towards a vegetated swale in order to get the required treatment. And the biggest concern we heard that was the amount of excavation. So what we did was take a peek at it. This is the previous site. So the building was here, paved parking lot, and then this was kind of a flat area, one consecutive flat area for vehicle storage. Unfortunately, this isn't in color. I do have something, if I may, drop these off. If you don't mind passing them around.
Are these different than what was
Is that different than what
submitted?
was
The only thing we did was color this building to help it
okay.
stand out from a distance.
Fine.
But it's very, very similar, and maybe some shading on this driveway, so it didn't appear black when it was printed. But, so the building was, the building and the parking were located over in this area. We took that building, we were able to shrink it down 1/3 the size, kind of rotate it and shift it up. It's really considered more of a small warehouse, a large storage shed at this point, no office. You know, the requirement for that, they believe, with this new layout isn't required. Removal of the electric, the water, a drilled well, a septic system, and the propane tanks stored outside. So it really now is one area we're calling phase 1 in this area, and then a phase 2 up in this area. This area is now tiered, it's much higher, and you can see an access road that goes up to that additional parking area. The drainage here, this is the sediment forebay, this is the drainage. We didn't touch it. it's going to be sized appropriately. We're going to verify all that, but we didn't want to change it. We didn't want to drastically change anything. It's really just a simplification. We heard about the amount of excavation. We tried to address that. As you can see by the grades, this area down in here will now be a fill, and this will be a cut. So this whole area will be much balanced, much better balanced. And there's a ridge in here that's going to be gone either way, just to help flatten the area. So we think this is a simplification. We weren't going to have time to make all the changes to the plan set and get it in before you, and we really just didn't want to do that without hearing some input to make sure that we had addressed the concerns that we heard at the TRC. So we'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
So first of all, thank you very much for revisiting the plan. I think that you definitely have addressed a lot of the TRC questions or comments that were put forth. To be just blunt, it looks far less likely that it could potentially be a gravel operation.
Right.
So I really appreciate the whole tiered effect of this, and the cut and fills. I know you're still trying to get the drainage to work properly, and the time that you're putting into that, we really appreciate, and working with the engineer as well. I like the fact that you also pulled everything out of the setbacks. So I mean, I'm definitely, having sat on the TRC, really pleased that you were that you really were addressing the concerns. So thank you.
Great.
Just a few questions, and then I'll let Jane, you and Scott jump in here. And only because I've been working on this with the TRC. I think it would be important to make sure that the no-cut buffers, which are the setback lines, would be flagged.
Yes.
As to an appropriate, distance, just to ensure that whoever's doing the site work, and you may not be there, supervising, that they really understand where these no-cut areas are, just so there's no issues down the road with the butters. And then I think I would also recommend that, again, I'm not an engineer, but somehow doing either like a silt fence or something around the wetland buffer at the top, so that no one's disturbing that area.
Sure.
Just trying to address like maybe unintended consequences, that you're gonna tell the contractor don't cut there or don't fill there, but gee, where's the 25 foot? So if something could be set up there, I think would be important. I think this works better as a phased approach, because it does seem like you could address the long-term drainage issues in phase 1, and it really wouldn't change by going forward and doing the elevated section above. I think our engineer will want him to comment on that. Do you have a particular time period for the completion of phase 1 and then vis-a-vis phase 2? And I'm asking this because this could play into the conditions of approval as to vesting. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, it's whenever you guys approve.
If you're going to speak, please come up to the microphone, and you give your name, please.
It's whenever. Good evening. It's whatever you guys give
your
us.
Name, please.
John Pacheco. I'm one of the owners.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will be the guy who's doing the site work. So whenever you guys stamp the string, we're gonna start right away.
Yeah, this is Rob McGinnis. I mean, it's really critical that we get this done and proceed, because once the warm weather comes, you can't access the site. The brush is so thick, it's tick infested. If you were sitting there and I was here, I couldn't get through the brush to get to you. So it's really important that we can start the work, as soon as possible, because we've got to get a lot of that brush cleared before the warm weather comes and it all grows back. And the majority of the site, as you know, is brush. I mean, it's disgusting, tick infested, just garbage brush.
It is a very typical site in this town that the right equipment can address.
Right. So that's what it is. So it's it's impossible. You can't walk 2 feet in there in the summertime.
But the question is completion of what you're determining to be phase 1.
Well, that's up to you guys now, since you guys have.
No, sorry, John, maybe you could answer that.
Yeah. No, exactly how long.
It's not.
Yeah, I mean, how long do we think it's going to take to?
About 3 weeks to a month, or maybe less than that.
Okay, and then when would you propose to start phase 2?
We wouldn't start phase 2 until we needed to. So that would be based on, I don't think we would start that probably this year. It would probably be, next year or so out. But, we're not eager to attack that until we need to.
Okay, thank you. And so just to confirm, no employees would be on site. This is
No.
truly warehousing.
Correct.
And that had answered my questions, thank you. And then I, again, just wanted to relay those comments. That would be relayed to the town engineer as well.
Thank you, and we will add those notes to the plan. We have no issue with addressing what you commented.
Jane, any questions or
Yeah.
for the concept or thoughts?
Quickly, if you wait a year or so, wouldn't you have to go back and do some cleanup, what you had already just cleaned up with that tick-infested area, no?
No, we're
You're
just,
good.
It's gonna be
just brush,
gravel.
we'll take it down to the ground, and then we'd gravel over it.
Oh, you're gonna gravel over it, okay,
Yeah,
sorry, I missed that part, my
Yeah,
fault.
it wouldn't come back.
So we'll come all the way back here,
Yep,
and then the next phase we'll just continue further on into the roads.
okay, good, that's the only question I had.
Okay, Scott, any questions?
Is there an idea of a phase 3 where you're gonna put the 6,000 square foot building or whatever, or that's?
No,
that's
not at this time.
we're not doing that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not worth doing the septic and the water and all
Yeah,
that
they-
we've talked about, it just doesn't,
They'd have to come back before the planning board.
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
curious.
And the
Yeah.
same, if we don't, if the planning board doesn't like the idea or doesn't grant approval for a phased approach, they would either have to do it all at once before they, had an occupancy permit to use the site or the building. Or they would have to redesign the plan, and it would basically stop at the edge of the first phase. So there'd be a delineation there, which we're gonna want anyway, but they would have to come back to the planning board with a new site plan to do what they're calling phase 2. So it's really gonna be what will be up to the planning board as to allowing them to do the phase, so they don't have to come back. And that the town engineer is, fine with all of the drainage as to doing phase 2 without having to come back with a new plan.
Yeah.
So it's
I
gonna
would
benefit
be-
the applicant to phase it, so they don't have to come back to the board.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of allowing them to phase it.
I think given, given the topography of the site, where it's all, where it's all draining anyway, it's not like there's any kind of drainage structures going on phase 2.
Right.
Right, Diane, do you have any
Yeah, I
comments
have
or
a couple of
questions?
questions. How much material will actually be removed and moved off-site with this scenario that you're presenting today?
We haven't gone into that. We can provide that number,
Can you
but
provide that
at
number
this
to
point,
us?
it's schematic and conceptual until we
Okay.
kind of get this blessing.
Because I know that the engineer will be looking at that. The other question, and I'll just share with you some feedback I got from our building inspector as well as our engineer. When they looked at the new plan, they said, gee, it looks like a gravel pit. Should this be coming under our gravel and excavation requirements? So I would just ask the question, that we have it documented for the record, that this work that you're proposing to do in the phased approach is incidental to the use, and clarify what that use is, the leasing of space for
we don't-
construction equipment and so forth. And we need to have a good description of what it is that you're doing.
Will that part be your condition of approval, or how will that be?
You can provide the narrative on the plan as a description.
And
I
to
just
be
think we
answered,
wanted to be-
yes, that would be a condition of approval.
Okay.
And I guess the board agrees that this is incidental to the,
Correct, the removal of gravel from the site is incidental to the preparation of the site for the intended
okay,
purpose.
and everybody's on board with that confirmation. Okay, we went through this process with the industrial park project. On the phasing plan, I just wanted to let the board know, I have given John a copy of the phasing plan from the Newmarket Industrial Park site that Jones and Beach prepared. It's in our developer's agreement, and he's going to kind of use that as a model. And in this particular one, it was an 8-phase project. And at this point, they're 2 years behind at least, if not more. But they have updated it, and we would expect that it would be updated from time to time, and that you would come in and disclose to the planning board what any delays were as part of your process. And again, as Val had pointed out, that this is important for this notion of vesting, so that if there's a change in transfer of ownership over time, and if there's a change in the regulations, you understand where your project stands in terms of the approval.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry?
I think we covered, oh, I have one question. Is this still going to be subject to the state's AOT?
Yes.
Okay. And on the buffers, and we're pleased to see that you're protecting those, just want to make sure you know about the buffer along Route 108, because there's a transition from residential uses on the, I guess it would be the southerly side of Route 108 versus what you're proposing, which is, you know, certainly a business.
Are you talking about the 75-foot setback?
Yes, I am. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. So the 75 feet off of,
This is the 75.
right, cannot be disturbed,
Yeah,
and
just the
it's a
driveways.
setback. And the last comment, I did get a chance to talk to DOT.
Okay.
Roger Appleton spoke with me. And if you recall at our TRC meeting, there was a question that came up about the drainage. You have a culvert proposed, and it kind of straddles the state's right-of-way and your property. And the question came up, well, you know, do we need to see a maintenance easement or some kind of construction easement to give the state the authority to come in if there's a problem with the drainage failing or erosion or whatever the case may be. And Mr. Appleton was very clear. He said DOT doesn't require that on private property. And he said that their position on this is it implies that they, the state, are taking responsibility for the maintenance and upkeep of the infrastructure on your property. And in their permit, I think it might even be a condition of approval, in their permit, it will state that they do not take responsibility for the maintenance of the culvert, and that's your responsibility. So I just wanted to let you know, and well, we only have one member here from the TRC, that we did follow up on that question that was raised, and Mr. Appleton was very helpful, and they're working on your approval, so.
Great. Thank you for
Yeah,
following up. Dan.
certainly welcome.
All set?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm all
thank you.
set, thank you.
So, I think what you're hearing tonight is the board would certainly support this.
Great.
You know, so, you know, to definitely, to move forward expeditiously and, to try to make these changes we just talked about, you know, on the plan, get that to the engineer, but let's get this, you know, to the vote at the March meeting. Okay?
Yep.
Is that, any other questions or concerns on the applicant's end?
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you for your input.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Oh, wait a minute. John, can you add those, the flagging, making sure that it's also those setbacks that Diane just mentioned?
May I steal that?
Yeah, here you go. Can you just mark up your plan and then give me that back?
Yes.
Thanks. All right. Next on the agenda, a new or old business. So Stormwater Committee met this morning, and we did a further review of the proposed site plan and subdivision regulations, made some additional modifications. Bill Archeri, the consultant for the town working on this, will get those updated over to Diane this week and then out to the board in time so that the board members can really kind of delve into them before the workshop. And Bill will be at the workshop answering questions from the board. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's good.
All right. So, but yeah, but please come prepared for that. Also, the workshop, which is on the 22nd, February 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah. We will be dealing with stormwater first, so that while Mr. Archeri is here, he's on the clock, obviously. We can minimize that time, and then the board will then take up the M2 zoning and M2 proposed
M2A
changes, M2A zoning and the proposed changes. So it will be working from the documents that had been sent out from the prior meeting. Diane and I have already been talking about some changes to that, but I'll just bring those forward at the workshop instead of getting, you know, other renditions out. Nothing else to report on the chairman's report. Any committee reports? Conservation Commission?
They meet Thursday.
Thursday, okay. Town council?
I brought up the issue of the, what do you call it, the impact fees.
Mhm.
And I was told that they have addressed, they sent a letter to the planning board saying that they're working on it. That's what Steve told me.
Oh, Steve told me.
Yeah.
'Cause I sent you a
he
copy
said,
of
he
Sean's
said they
email.
immediately sent a letter back to the planning board
They did?
When we first talked about it?
No.
in response to the letter in December
Not that.
from Eric.
No.
Well, I
This
don't
was
know.
last
That's what he told
December.
me. I didn't ask
This
for a
isn't
copy of
this-
the letter.
It was on December 2020.
Yeah.
2020, and I never got anything from the
He said
town
that.
council.
Well, okay. He told me
Whatever, I'm
in the
not-
pl-
Oh,
in the
a
if I brought it
question.
up. He said
Yeah.
we responded to the planning board in a letter. He specifically stated it was a letter saying that we're working on it and we'll let you know when it's done. And in the town council meeting, he said we're still working on it and we'll let you know when we're done. And subsequently, Diane has received information from Sean saying that he thinks that we're getting really close to finalizing.
Because I think that's the issue. Sean's working on the betterment fee
Right.
to replace the impact fee.
Right.
Okay, so and that's kind of the lead on it. Once Sean has that and the council approves that, then the fallout is to deal
So
with the
apparently
impact
Sean's
fee.
getting close to
Okay, great.
finishing that.
Okay.
And then I also brought up the issue of the Neal Mill Road, whether it's a road or not. And
Trail.
The
Steve said,
recreation trail.
yeah.
Okay, that hasn't,
And
So-
Steve said that he's kind of dropped the ball on that, but that he will get on it and
Okay.
come up with an. He thinks he needs to talk to the town attorney
Mhm.
to make sure that we do it all correctly.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for that.
that's good.
All right, Diane, any planners reports? Oh, I'm sorry, Jane, you had anything?
No.
Yeah, okay, Diane?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm all set.
All right, then that would take care of everything on the agenda. So 22nd is the workshop, and there's no public hearings during the workshop. So public is welcome to attend. And the proposed regulations in draft, are those posted?
Yes, they're
Okay.
on our agenda from, well, the ones that Bill worked up, or
Okay.
is working up, have not been posted,
All right, so once we
obviously.
get the new ones, then
We'll
they
put
just
those up.
will repost. Okay, so.
Right, and we hope to get
Yeah.
at least a week in advance.
And then again, the process there is we'll be having a workshop and then, trying to, during the workshop, ask questions, finalize any changes at that point. And then we would be discussing whether or not it's in the workshop or at our March meeting, when that would move forward to, for a public hearing on those regulations. So we'll discuss that in the workshop.
So that gets added right to the, under the planning board portion of the website where our agendas typically are, that'll be right there,
The links.
that new draft.
Whenever we receive it, we'll put it
Yeah.
up there.
Okay, good. All right, no further business before us. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And thank you for coming out, because I did not want to delay that hearing for that applicant, so I do appreciate that.